Hello YouTube and welcome back to another episode of Fireside Racialized Chats with Carson and his lovely
wife, Esiri. I forgot.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another Hello everybody and welcome back to the YouTube channel. This is our take 3 because somebody wasn't ready the first time and second time to another episode of Carson and Esiri talk about exhausting racial issues. Isn't this fun for everybody? Babe, you're like glowing in the video here. This ring light's doing you justice. I look washed out like a fence post. Fuck, I'm like Captain Ahab's white whale.
Okay, I think
over
that's
here.
Better.
That's a little better. Anyways.
Okay. Oh my god, you look so white in it.
Well, you know, nobody's perfect. Okay? So you don't hold it against me.
Anyways, alright, continue.
Speaking of you look so white, today we're talking about why we don't see color in everything in our relationship.
In our relationship.
Yeah. You shouldn't see color, period. Or I mean, you should see color, period. And we don't mean greens and reds and yellows and, you know, with your eyeballs. We mean, well, let me just say it. We've all heard white people say this. Oh, I'm not racist. I don't care if you're black, white, purple, or green. I don't see color. And all of you black folks out there and brown folks all went, And some of us white folks who have learned to not say dumbass shit like that roll our eyes too, and we all shrug for different reasons. But today we want to talk about why that is. So, I mean, do you want to start? Why don't you see color in the relationship?
Why don't I see color, or why do I see color? Why do I choose to see color?
Right, I keep confusing.
Yeah.
See, this is why I'm a terrible
We're talking
host.
about why we choose to
see color. We do see color.
He keeps confusing you guys.
Sorry about that.
We're talking about why we choose to see color.
Why we choose to see color.
In our relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, so for me, I think my biggest reason is because, first of all, I'm a black person. You have to see that as I walk through the door. That's the first thing you see when you look at someone. You don't know anything about the person. That's a white person that just walked through the door. That's a black girl. That's an Asian person that just walked through the door, right? Like, there's no denying that. So that point of saying, oh, I don't see color, to me is just like, I don't know. And also another reason is because, to me, I feel like when you admit that you see color in a person, especially because this really more relates to people of color, like black people and Asian people and, you know, non-white people in general.
Non-white people see color. It's white people that say I don't see color, right? So
for me, when somebody admits to seeing, when somebody says I don't see color, to me you are like stripping away every, what's the word I'm looking for, like anything that has to do with me in terms of like what I go through in society.
Yeah, your experiences.
Yeah, you're stripping away my experiences, my challenges. Not that my challenges in society is something to be proud of, because as black people, I don't think nobody's happy that we are like at the bottom in society, but it is the reality of what it is. But we need you to see that and acknowledge that it exists, right? Because to me, I feel like I get where people are coming from when they say I don't see color. For most people, it's from like we are all one, we're all human. Yeah, it's not bad at all, but I'm just saying at the same time, you could also be saying, by saying that, you could also be like saying, so I don't really see. You get what I'm saying?
Imagine if somebody in a wheelchair rolled up and they were like, you know, oh, I have a disability, and you were like, oh,
I don't see disability.
I don't see disability.
Yeah.
You think, well, no, not even you're trying to. You think you're being like well-meaning. Yeah. But really what you're saying is your disability doesn't matter to me. It's not relevant to your life or your life experiences. Yeah. And that's a really stupid thing to say.
Yeah, because every person of color, we all have, from whatever part of the world we are, we all have like our unique struggles. And you know, as a Nigerian, my struggle to that of a black American would be totally different. But as a Nigerian, colorism is very rife and alive where I am. Obviously, colorism is mostly between people of the same race that experience that. But as a black person living in the Western world now, I don't live in Nigeria anymore. I'm more prone to have the same experiences as someone, as a black American or like a black Western person, right? And so yeah, to me, I want, especially the person I'm with, I want my partner to see the color. It's not the most, race is not the most important thing in our marriage, in our relationship, but it's, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, it's certainly important. Yeah.
Like, it's not the most important, but it's also important, right?
It's important to you as a person.
Because also, if you're with someone who you plan to have kids with in the future, you should know that whatever race your partner is, in this situation we're mostly talking about white people, like your partner should also know that this child I'm going to bring into this life, it's not going to be white like me, right? My child is not going to be seen as white, though my child will be mixed race. Society will call them black, right? In the eye, the one drop rule. I know there's this there's this debate, mixed people aren't white, neither are they black. I personally agree with that, but let's be real, we live in a society where every mixed race person is going to be categorized as black. So you need to be with someone who sees that and acknowledges that, because to me, if my partner don't see race, you're probably not going to you're not going to acknowledge that in the child a child will bring to life too. I don't know if that makes, do you have, oh my god, I thought you had like a patch here.
What?
That was just a random. Just looking at you, it looked like you had like a little, you know those little things Koreans put on their face?
Yeah, to hide pimples?
Yeah, it looked like you had something.
Well, under this ring light, you'd be able to see it. It would be zooming.
Yeah, so yeah, what do you have to add to that?
So I agree with basically everything you said, I think. Obviously, from a white person's perspective, I struggle with this one a lot, precisely because people that are old school racist aren't the ones that say I don't see color. It's people that are new school racist, the people that think they aren't racist, that are like, you know, like your well-meaning aunts and uncles and grandparents are like, oh, I don't see color. I've got a lovely black mailman and I don't see color. Like those people, right? We all know somebody like, especially,
you all have one of them in your family.
If you're from North America, you don't even have to be white. You work with a white person who talks like that. I know you do. We all do, right? And I think it irritates me because racism is just as prevalent today as it was 100 years ago, but it's evolved. Like even today, Nazis can't just be like, hello, my name is John, I'm a Nazi, right? Even like in racist circles, racists that are like actively like, I'm a Nazi, no, you can't say stuff like that anymore. Yeah. Even if people agree with you, it's taboo. But there's tons of ways that you can still be really racist without actively being like, I don't like black people, right? And like, so people say this like, I don't see color, and like you say, all you're doing when you say that is like, not only are you erasing, like, so if I say it to you, not only am I erasing all kinds of really important like experiences and context around your life, but I'm also basically being super racist, because there's a lot of research that people who say they don't see color also end up not seeing modern day racist acts. So for example, if you say, oh, okay, well, this housing act that makes it so that you have to have this much money to rent a house here, that's racist. People who say I don't see color go, no, it's not, it's about money. And then like black authors come along and go, yeah, but there's a socioeconomic reason why this is actually discriminatory. Or like voting rights in America. Lots of people say like voter ID, why is it racist to make sure that people have an ID to vote? Why, you know, we should all to stop voter fraud. And it's like, well, because we know that voter ID disproportionately targets poor people, or poor black people really, because a lot of poor black people, especially in places where voting is really important for them, live in areas where it's hard to get an ID, or they can't get an ID for various reasons, or they have to travel 100 miles just to get an ID. So really, the law isn't openly racist the way a law would be 100 years ago. Yeah, it's like so sneaky. It's sneaky racist. Yeah. But if you say I don't see color, you can't see that. Yeah, you can read between the lines, right? Because you're not seeing how this is disproportionately affecting black people. So so it's actually like, it's ironic that it's usually people who don't think they're racist say I don't see color, but it's a very racist thing to say. Like if we were 1,000 years in the future and like my glorious communist utopia has happened and we've all learned to live together and there's no more racism on the books or whatever, in that situation it would make more sense if you were like, oh, it doesn't matter to me what your race is, because we've addressed all the socioeconomic problems. But in today's society, right now, in today, where it's very, very important, especially if you're someone who, you know, you want to call yourself an
an ally, you want, you know, everybody to be treated as one, as we should, then seeing color should be important, because as Carson said, when you recognize the color of the person, you recognize the little ways or the sneaky ways that some laws or whatever can be
or not even just laws, just your experiences can be very different. We can walk into the same restaurant in Korea and be treated totally differently, even though we're both foreigners who don't speak enough Korean. The other thing I was gonna say is, I think the I don't see color thing is weird because a lot of times the people who say that are full of shit. They'll say like, oh, I don't see color, but then when Marvel is like, oh, we have a new black trans superhero, they're like, and they get all mad because it's not like a white muscular Superman looking dude. So it's just, but even from like, not from like a racist perspective, just from like a personal perspective. You're black, you're black, clearly, I'm white. But your blackness is important to you, is it not? Like, regardless of whether you were at the bottom of the social hierarchy or the top, it's part of your identity. So saying, I don't see color is like a weird way to be like, I don't see your identity. Like, Asian people like being Asian. Like, that's part of their identity. That's we only have the lived experience we have. And when you say I don't see color, what always ends up happening is you default to whiteness too. I don't see color, but then when somebody is not white, you go like, well, I don't see why they have to mention that she's a black woman who won this award or some black guy. Well, we do, because we have to see color, because quote unquote people of color often, you know, get sidelined. So it's just it's a weird, ironic thing to me, because it seems like if you don't think about it at all, like, because most white people don't think about racist stuff at all, it seems like a nice thing to say.
Very innocent, right?
But it's so funny that the reactions, like, there's, even in 2021, there's so many white people that will say, I don't see color. And basically, everyone who's non-white, whether you're black or brown or Asian or Indian or whatever, like, doesn't matter, you're man or woman, everybody on that side, so like 7 billion people are like, don't say I don't see color. It's a really dumb thing to say. It makes us all exasperated. But white people are still out here like, well, yeah, but I don't see color, I don't care. And,
okay, so I was gonna ask you, so specifically, as an like for interracial couples, for someone in an interracial relationship to say they don't see color, what do you think about that?
Giant red flag. Giant red flag. Black people, or, well, no, any people of color, if you're dating a white person and they say I don't see color, leave that relationship. I'm dead serious. Leave that relationship, because it's gonna be down the line, you're gonna have a nice mixed race kid, and he's gonna get in trouble with the law, just like that, remember that movie
we watched?
Where, what was that movie called?
Oh, I don't remember.
There's a movie about a shooting where it's a black mom and her mixed race kid gets killed by the police, and the dad is all like, the dad was a very, I don't see color, like, I'm not racist, I just think my kid needs to pull his pants up, and that's what you're gonna get into. You're with a white person that has all kinds of racist, prejudiced shit that they have in their head, and they might not even realize they haven't put in any of the work, right? Like, white people, and I'm including myself in this, I'm not trying to say like I'm one of the woke whites. Like, white people have a lot of emotional labor that they have to do in their own minds. We really have to understand that we are programmed from birth to see, like, white supremacy is programmed into me at birth. It's programmed into you guys in birth in different ways too. Where I default to whiteness. When I think of somebody, I think of a white person. There's all kinds of ways that affects us. And so, like, if you're with somebody who says, I don't see color, try to educate them on that, call them out on it, or whatever you gotta do. But if they're like, you should probably leave that relationship, because it's gonna come back. And it's no matter how much you're gonna find ways where you're like, holy shit, my partner is just like openly racist. It's gonna happen. It's a gigantic, it's not even a red flag. It's like one of those like air horns. You hear like, bow, bow. Yeah, exactly. It's just like, bow, you're a racist. Bow. It's really bad.
It's revolving around you.
Super, absolutely,
for me personally, I'm very happy that I'm with someone, because when you go into an interracial relationship, these are like some things you really have to think. It's not like when you're of the same race and you just, you know, meet and you date each other. When you are in an interracial relationship, race, it's kind of important. I know most people try not to focus on the race, because, you know, we love each other despite the fact that we're of different races. But beside that, it's also a very important factor in different aspects of your relationship, right? So I feel like for couples, if you're like in an and especially if you are with a white person, because again it's mostly white people that most I'm not saying other like non-black people don't say, but most times it's mostly white people that are always like, I don't see color, because they're the ones who have the privilege to say I don't see color.
White people don't have to see color. Everybody else does.
They're very privileged not to see color because it doesn't affect them, right? So if you're with someone who is white, you kind of have to talk about these things with this person. Like,
you really do. Like,
I feel like every interracial couple at some point, especially before you go into marriage, especially even if you don't want to even marry the person, if you want to have a long-term, because you know marriage is not for everybody, you don't have to get married, right? But if you want to be in a long-term relationship with a person, or even if it's short, right? Because you need to, at some point, you need to really talk about race, and you really need to let your partner acknowledge your race in that relationship, right? And not be blinded to.
Well, yeah, because also that part, like, we're kind of off on a tangent here, but I think since we're talking about relationships and stuff, it makes sense to me. Is not only that, but like, if you're in a relationship with a person of color and you're a white person, like, why would you want, like. I'm married to you, I love you. Yeah. But if you tolerate, as a person of color, if you tolerate your partner saying problematic shit, guaranteed their family says stuff like that too, right? Yeah. And if your partner, if your white partner is not willing to be like, look, family, that shit ain't gonna fly. You need to fix your shit. You need to read a book, whatever it is. You can't double down on it and be like, blah, 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 blah. No, you need to fix your shit, or you don't get to be a part of this at all. If your white partner is not willing to do that, well, one, they're a coward, but two, they're gonna let that shit. Wait, how could you expect that person to defend you in like a hate crime scenario or something more extreme, right? Like, and it can be really subtle. That's what is so frustrating. I want to make a video about that actually soon. We were talking about this a while ago, and I'm gonna make a video called "White People Don't Understand White Supremacy or Racism," because we've said it before, where like this stuff can be so subtle. It can be like, I'll give you an example. I won't use any names, but I have a relative who loves you to death. They love you to death, and they always, when they talk about you, although actually I've talked to them about it before, and so they're not really doing it anymore, but they used to, when we first got married, they were so excited because they were like, oh my god, Carson's met this beautiful woman, blah, 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 blah. But they always had to mention you were Nigerian. So they would always refer to you as like Carson's Nigerian wife. Or Carson's black wife. And I explained to the person, I'm like, I get that you're excited that the person is like from a different country, and that gives you lots to talk about and whatever, but can you see how you wouldn't say that if I was married to like a Russian? Yeah, you wouldn't be like, oh, Carson's Russian wife.
Carson's European wife.
That would only come up if somebody was like, oh, where's she from? And it's okay to talk about that you're Nigerian or that you're black, but you don't have to be like, oh, Carson and his black wife are coming down. And every time I'd be like, do you see how? Me this. Well, because it was a long time ago, and again, it wasn't too serious. I just sat the person down. It was kind of like, I know it's coming from a place of excitement, and you're like, yay, I love this girl, and you want to talk about how she's from a new culture, and you're interested in her culture and stuff. That's great. But can you see how saying it like that, you wouldn't say it, but that's because we default to whiteness, right? And that's so the person was like, holy shit, you're right, I've never thought about it like that. And so if they hadn't been willing to be like, holy shit, you're right, I've never thought about it like that, I would have to get more firm with that person and be like, look, then it's not cool. Like, if you're not willing to put the work in, you can't be a part of my relationship. Well, not a part of the relationship, but you know what I mean? And that's like, white people don't get it, and they say that I don't see color thing because they default to whiteness, and they think just by, oh, as long as I don't acknowledge racism, then it'll go away.
It's like it's just
no, it's an active thing.
Into thin air.
Yeah, you have to change. That's like systemic racism is not just waking up and being like, I hate black people. It's you default to whiteness in many ways. There are tons of things we do as white people where we assume everyone's like us. Another tiny example that I went the other day, on Facebook, somebody posted a picture of a black mom. It was a drawing, one of those science drawings where it shows like a baby in her belly, like you'd see like that you'd see at a doctor's office. But it was a black woman with a black baby, and the caption literally just said, how often have you seen a non-white person on one of these diagrams? And I was like, and all the comments agreed. We were like, never. Like never once. Like even in a country that wasn't predominantly white.
Yeah.
I bet you in Korea, we'll go to a doctor's office, you'll see a white person with a white baby, right? And that's another example of how like you wouldn't necessarily think that's like bad.
Yeah.
But it snowballs into other things and it defaults to,
Yeah.
and I was like, whoa, I've never even thought of that before.
Now that I think about it.
Yeah, have you ever seen...
Even like back home
even in Nigeria,
when
right?
you go to hospitals, it's usually
a white diagram,
like
probably, right?
the banner of like, I don't know, a mother feeding a baby or a kid taking a medicine is always like a white mom and a white kid.
Yeah, and like, why would you ever do that?
In an African country,
yeah,
right?
and that's,
like,
so there's a perfect example how like when people say like white supremacy isn't just white people's problem, well obviously it's black people and brown people's problem too, but like even black and brown people can be programmed by white supremacy into ways, right? It's really insidious, and I don't see color as just well, it's wrong, but it's also just a gigantic red flag that there's other issues going on there.
Yeah.
People who say I don't see color are at the very least ignorant and well-meaning, and at worst they have much worse things going on.
Ignorant and well-meaning.
Well, you know, there's like
it's kind of opposites.
yeah, but like they think they're doing something well, but really they're not, right?
Yeah. So I guess we kind of talked about what we want to talk about.
I think we've exhausted it.
Yeah, so let's continue the conversation in the comment section below. Let us know what you think about this whole
share your
I don't see color thing.
Share your exhausting stories, what white people have said to you that made you go, ugh, if you want to. Nothing triggering.
Yeah.
I just mean like those white-isms that we all know. I have a couple of black coworkers that we talk about this stuff a lot, and the other white coworkers sometimes say stuff, and I just love because my black coworkers just go and they look right at me like, this is you're gonna deal with this, and I'm like, yep, I got you, I'll deal with it, because like, yeah, it's a thing. And white people keep putting in the labor. The good whites out there, the good whites, I don't know where I'm going with this. Put in your labor. Don't think you can just not see color and that'll defeat racism, because it won't.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to give a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy our videos, okay? It's just one click and you're subscribed. It won't take anything.
Here, we'll give you 3 seconds right now.
And
3, 2, 1. Are you subscribed yet? If you're not subscribed, I'm gonna come to your house and sing you a Christmas carol saying like, please
subscribe.
You thought I was gonna threaten you, but I turned that wholesome.
Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in our next one.
Bye.
Bye.